Let's see if we can lift you into frame. Oh, so close. Jump onto my lap. Come on. You almost did it. Almost. This is maybe a really bad idea. You just enjoy that for yourself. Good morning, sweet Danishes. Today we're doing the author tag. The How to Build a Story series was pretty heavy in terms of scripting and structuring. I even made some graphics for it. So I thought for my next video, I'm gonna go for something a bit lighter, more personal. Let's get to know each other, aka let me talk about myself for a wee bit, cause who doesn't love that? Let's begin. Question 1, where is your favourite place to write? I write in a lot of places. This is my desk. This is where I do a lot of writing. I've also been known to knock out a quick Pomodoro in the morning in bed before I've gotten up. I also like to go to the library or to a nice cafe. I have way too high standards for like the atmosphere of the place I want to write, so I won't just go to a little local library because they can be sort of like dingy and small. I need to go to the Mitchell Library, which is like the Central Library of Glasgow, which is like 7,000 years old. If it's a cafe, it has to be somewhere comfy and cozy, has to have a good vibe, preferably gluten-free cakes because they sustain me in all things. Question number 2, coffee or tea? This is a really complicated question for me, and it really shouldn't be. The short answer is both. The long answer is, if you've watched my What Your Coffee Order Says About You video, you will know that I am also a specialty barista as well as a writer. So I know a lot about coffee, and I obviously got into that job because I had such a passion for coffee. But also in the last couple of years, I've figured out that I'm actually pretty sensitive to caffeine, which is not the best combination of things. I think part of it is just biological, but also part of it's maybe anxiety related, like over caffeinating can make you more anxious. And so for that reason, I have basically given up drinking coffee, like altogether. I still have to taste it for my coffee work, but I spit everything like a wine tasting asshole. And yeah, so I still like really love tasting new coffees, but I don't ever actually drink them anymore. I aspire to drink them once again in the future, once I have maybe more of a handle on my anxiety things and stuff. But I drink lots of tea because of that. Like interesting flavours, I think my favourites are like spiced teas. So there's this Bengal spice one. It's like a spicy cake in liquid form. Otherwise, I like breakfast tea. That's kind of my replacement for coffee. It obviously still has caffeine, but a fair amount less. And yeah, it depends what kind of mood I'm in. I will have green tea if I'm hungover. So yeah, both. They shouldn't have to compete. Question 3, favourite book of all time. So Sabriel by Garth Nix was the first book I ever read that didn't have pictures in it, and it holds up so well if you reread it as an adult. I think it's just amazing, and so it's always going to have a place in my heart. The Gone Away World by Nick Harkaway is just batshit incredible, and it's got ninjas, and it's got pirates, and apple cake, and it's just great and you should read it. I can't say that Harry Potter has not had a big impact on me as well, and I think I would like to return to them as an adult, read them all through and actually kind of like analyse them, you know, like with my new grown-up writer brain. I love American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I just love the vibe and all the mythology stuff, and it's like a kind of road trip like through America. My newest favourite book is Zero History by William Gibson, and it's basically like a thriller kind of about fashion, which sounds like it should not work and you should not care, but it's just incredible. It's so rich, and like you just follow these characters through these fascinating cities. I've loved William Gibson for a long time, but he has so stepped it up in the last few years, I think. I got it for Christmas from Ross and it was just such a pleasure. It was such a joy to read, and I can't wait to reread it. NaNoWriMo, yes or no? Yes and no. So State of Flux actually came from NaNoWriMo 2009. It was such an incredible, fun experience for me. I ended up doing it again the next year. So yeah, I mean, if NaNoWriMo didn't exist, I don't think I would be here as a writer. But the draft that I got from those two NaNoWriMos was so bad that I had to spend years basically chipping away at it, doing writing courses and revising it. It eventually became State of Flux, which is now out on Amazon and other places. This is what it looks like in paperback. I just realised that I've never shown you that before because it makes the lighting go all weird on my video, but look, I wrote a book. When I was finished with Flux, I couldn't wait to do NaNoWriMo again because I just had all these great memories of it, and the camaraderie and the challenges and the laughs and staying up far too late and like skipping my classes in uni, which I should not have been doing. I couldn't wait to do it again with a new story, but by the time I could do that, I was actually in the midst of a really major depression, and it was just impossible. It was nothing like I'd remembered, and I just couldn't do it, so I ended up quitting after about 20,000 words. I've since realised that NaNoWriMo isn't really a sustainable way of working for me, as much fun as it is. I just think working in terms of word count is not the best way to prioritise, because it's going to make you just write more and not write better, and I realised that with Flux because I chucked out a good 30,000 words, maybe up to 60,000 words, and I could have avoided that if I'd planned in advance. So I think it's better to actually chart your progress in terms of scenes or like plot points, how far you are through the story, not how many words you have, because you can write 100,000 words and never finish a story. Word counts aren't really important, the content is, and so you should measure it by content, in my opinion. But yeah, if NaNoWriMo is fun and you like it, you should do it. I wish that there was a way to get all that camaraderie and fun and craziness of NaNoWriMo in a way that is still conducive to writing smart, if you know what I mean. What genre would you write if you had no restrictions? This is kind of a weird question because I don't have any restrictions, and so the genre I write is the one I want to write, you know? Like, I'm an indie author, I don't have anyone telling me what I can and can't write. So at the moment I'm doing a kind of post-apocalyptic fantasy set in Glasgow after it's been ravaged by a pandemic. That's great, and I was really excited to write about sort of like natural settings after like State of Flux has a lot of the trappings of like cyberpunk, and it's a bit Gibson-esque, and it's like a futuristic city and there's a lot of graffiti and like industrial spaces and stuff. And so after that I was really excited to write about sort of like natural landscapes, and I'm kind of obsessed with Loch Lomond, which is like not far from where I live, and big like expanses of water. After that I actually would love to write about space. Like, I am like the biggest sci-fi nerd. I particularly love like sci-fi TV shows, Stargate and Star Trek, and you know, like spaceship shows. And so eventually I would love to write a spaceship book. I actually have a kind of project that could be that, but it's kind of based around coffee, and I don't know how I feel about doing that now, obviously, because I can't actually drink coffee. But yeah, I would love to write a big expanded space thing with aliens and different cultures and clashes and space, basically. Actually, this mug is kind of like an expression of my obsession with space and sort of like nautical things. When I was planning this space book, I loved this idea of explorers taking to the seas in times gone by, like trying to chart things and being like just on the surface of this massive unknowable expanse where there's like monsters and pretty stars and gold things and constellations, and yeah, so space. If you could have any superpower, what would that be? So you know the start of the movie Up, where Carl is like a little kid and he's wearing his little helmet with his goggles, and he's watching that movie or documentary about Charles Muntz, and he just has these like stars in his eyes. That was me watching Spider-Man when I was 11. I just came out of it being like, it got me into the Spider-Man comics, which I collected for a number of years, and it was just one of my first pop culture obsessions. The movie reviewer moviebob did a really great video on Spider-Man in his Really That Good series, like just dissecting why it was so popular and groundbreaking, and it just made me remember how much I loved it and connected with it, and you should go and watch it because it's awesome. Yeah, so I used to be such an avid Spider-Man fan that I actually had multiple dreams that I had spider powers, and it was always amazing. So yeah, if I could have a superpower, it would be spider powers. What is your favourite author? Garth Nix. I just love all his fantasy stuff. I just think it's so like unique, but it obviously stems from like existing lore and stuff, and it's just so good. Nick Harkaway I love, and he is just crazy and vibrant but literary at the same time, and I love that he obviously has such interesting and complicated ideas. He's not afraid of the wacky as well. Like he doesn't think that there has to be this kind of divide between literary and important and like vibrant and colourful and fun. You know, he mixes the two and it's just awesome. Scarlett Thomas, I love a lot of her books, and even the ones that I maybe have a weird relationship with have always been really influential in my life. I really respect her and I think she's extremely smart. So I think she goes on there as well. Meg Cabot, who writes the Princess Diary series, a lot of young adult stuff, a lot of romance stuff. I haven't read any of her adult stuff actually, but I think I'd be interested in that. I just think she's great and she's so funny. Yeah, it's just so good. Good job, Meg Cabot, on your life. Lastly, William Gibson, obviously. So he wrote Zero History, which I've already spoken about, and I actually did Idoru for my Advanced Higher English dissertation, and I compared it with Frankenstein, and it's all about like artificial intelligence and like holographic J-pop icons, and it's just fascinating, and he is just crazy, and I love it. What kind of music do you listen to while you write? While I'm physically writing new stuff, it's mainly instrumental. I find things with words are too distracting. I know a lot of writers are like that too. For North of the End, I can even link you to my instrumental North of the End playlist on Spotify. But if I'm just like thinking about book stuff, so I'm maybe walking the dog or I'm on the bus, I have a dedicated book playlist. So there's a whole mix of things. I like some sort of light, uplifting, sort of like School of Seven Bells, and there's a lot of like fairly dark, industrial, creepy, because North of the End has horror elements and stuff. So I love Chelsea Wolfe. Her new album Abyss is like everything it could possibly want from music. Not everything has to be really feel good, okay? Just like embrace your darkness, like Chelsea has. If you could live anywhere, where would that be? I actually really love the idea of being in Canada, and that's mainly because I hate hot weather and I would really love to live somewhere like properly snowy, like really snowy. Like we get snow in Scotland, but like the whole year is just like cold and rain, and we have like maybe one day of snow and one day of sunshine, and that's it. So I would really love to go somewhere like properly cold. So yeah, I have read a lot about Vancouver. Apparently it's a awesome place to live. Also Toronto, but like any of the major Canadian cities I think would be really interesting. I would love to live in a really big vibrant city which is close to lots of like cool outdoorsy stuff, but has really good coffee and just really interesting like creative things going on, you know? What do you do when you get writer's block? Keep going. The only real writer's block that I think exists is depression, because so much of writing and creative stuff is making things that make you feel things and make you care about them and that you love, and if you are in a bad enough depression then you can't even feel that anymore. So how are you meant to tell when you're making anything good if you can't take any joy from it, you know? Otherwise, to me, anything else that anyone is calling writer's block is just writing is hard. No shit, Sherlock. It's a job. Writing is hard. You're creating a whole fucking world from your brain meat. Like, of course it's difficult. Like, you will get stuck on things. Like, at the end of the day, writing is just a big, long chain of problems that you have to figure out answers and solutions for and build them together into a thing. So obviously you're going to get stuck at points. Brainstorm in a different way. Let it rest. Do something else. But yeah, I don't believe in writer's block as a thing, you know. People don't say like, oh, I have carpenter's block. I just can't carpent anything. I have barista's block. Like, coffee is just not making sense to me anymore, you know? It's kind of a made up thing, at least I think. That's all the questions, really. I hope you feel like you know me a little bit better. I don't feel like I know you much better, but that's because we haven't spoken yet, so like get commenting and let me know. Also, if you want to answer any of these questions from the author tag just in the comments, or you have anything to add, like please do, because I would love to hear it. As always, I'm Rachael Stephen. I'm a novelist, a YouTuber, an obsidian ethereal being trapped in a meat body. You can take a peek at State of Flux over at my website at rachelstephen.com. You can read some free chapters. You can even fucking buy it if you want. If you enjoyed this little coffee chat we've had, maybe give me a like. It would really help me out. And I'm sorry that I didn't bring Danishes for everyone, but it would have been hard for you to eat through the screen. But if you subscribe, I will post 700 cinnamon Danishes with cream cheese frosting through your letterbox. Scout's Honour, Brownie's Peace, Whale Promise, and goodbye. My god, I just choked on my own spit. I feel like I'm always leaning in like this, just when I get really enthusiastic about an answer and I'm like, I just need to share this with you though. Oh yeah. Okie dokie. What are you doing over there? Big spances of water. It's just, I Well, NaNoWriMo, his earlier ones were. Here's your favourite. This place is full of flavour. I watch a lot of YouTubers who are really sort of like bubbly and can do really cutesy stuff, but like they can pull it off because they don't have that kind of core of obsidian, which like takes away from the sincerity of it when I do it. Good morning, small bananas. Look at your chicken legs.